Hey everyone, I am Vickie Howell. I am the ambassador for needle arts for Clover, among other things, and I'm really excited to be here with you today, live from my at-home studio in Austin, Texas, to show you a new tool. It's a new tool for an old craft that my friends over at Clover have sent. It is the hairpin lace tool. Now you're going to be reading this backwards because I've got the whole selfie camera thing going on, but you know, I'll flip it around and show you later. But really all you need to know is that we have the tool. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around and I'm going to show you all the basics, everything that you need to know to get started using this. I'm going to take out the pieces first. I just dropped one. And then I'll show you how to assemble it. I'm going to talk to you about different things that you can, or different fibers you can use with it. And I'm going to show you some results. This is really going to get you going so that you know exactly how to use this tool. And we're going to be giving away a few at the end of the stream. All right, I'm going down to pick this piece up, and then I'm going to flip around the camera, and we are going to show you how to get your hairpin lace on. All right, let's do this. All right, so I'm set up here. Make sure that you have enough light. Hello to everyone. I see your love coming across the screen. You know that makes me so happy. Hi to Lori from Pittsburgh. Hi Froma. Hi Kirsten. Hi Stephanie. All right, so here's the package in its proper orientation. This is what it looks like when you go to the craft store. It comes in a package like this, and it comes with all of these pieces. So it's got these 2 clips, and then it's got 3 pins. All right. Now you can use either 2 or 3 pins when you're working with the tool. First, before I'm going to show you how to assemble it, I'm going to give you an idea of what the piece that you're creating will look like, just the most basic of basic pieces, so you know what we're doing here. Here's an example. This has not been assembled. Nothing's happened except for the basic braid piece. So what it does is this tool creates a braid down the center and then all of these looped pieces. And then you can leave it like this in all of its loopy glory, because why not? Or later, I'll be talking about how you can assemble them together to create larger pieces. First, though, I'm going to show you the most basic way to use it. And that's assembling it using all 3 pins. Now, traditionally, when you use hairpin lace, there's only 2 pins like this. The cool thing about this tool is that they've given you a third one, which I kind of think of as like training wheels on a bike. And so it's really great for beginners, but honestly, when I'm working with the wider pieces, I kind of like to use it anyway, and here's why. So there's a center, you'll see there's holes here. Each of these holes, the little pins fit in. And the closer in, the more narrow your piece will be. So that gives you a lot of versatility that you don't find in many hairpin lace tools. If you're working with just 2, let me see if I can show you. If you're working with just 2 of the pins, then you'll see that there's an arrow at the very center. And this is where you're going to want your knot to stay centered so that your braid is centered at the whole time, unless you're going asymmetrical, and then by all means rock it. And I'll show you what knot I'm talking about in just a second. But what I'm first going to show you is how you don't need to worry about that at all, because you can use this 3rd pin as a guiding pin. What am I talking about? Let me show you. All right, so regardless of which method you use, you're going to assemble by, you'll see these little eyelets right here, and I'm going to talk to you about those when I show you the next method. But for now, just place them in so that they're facing, doesn't matter which way they're facing, but so they're at the bottom. You're actually not going to be using this top clip at all for this part. But as I said, since we're going to do the beginner method, we're going to use all 3 pins. Okay, it does not matter what weight of yarn or thread or whatever that you use for this. I mean, I haven't tried using something that was like 3 inches wide, but it really doesn't matter. We're not really worried about gauge here. This is kind of just like a playground for you. Super fun. All right, the first thing that you need to do is you need to also grab a crochet hook that corresponds with the yarn that you're using. This is an Aran weight yarn. This happens to be my mod wool yarn, and I'm going to use, I just grabbed a hook. It doesn't need to be exactly the gauge. Normally I would probably use an I if I were crocheting. I grabbed a J. It doesn't really matter. Just get it kind of close to the size that you'd use if you were crocheting. If you've never crocheted before, don't worry about it. Just grab a crochet hook. This will work no matter what. So first you're going to tie a slip knot, just as a refresher how to do that. You make a little loop-de-loop O, or loop-de-loop, kind of like a cursive E, and that strand that's on the top, you swing under and push through. Hi, Regina from Florida. Hi, Winter from Idaho. All right, so now you've got this loop. And for this method, and again, this is the 3-pin method, you're going to place that loop over both the left and the middle pin. Now, if you're a lefty, you can totally reverse this. I don't think it matters. You could start it over here. But as you'll see in a second, it doesn't matter because we're going to be working both sides. All right, so you've got your knot around the center. And see, I was telling you before how with the other method, you need to keep the knot right at the center. This is the knot I'm talking about. And I will show you that method too so that that will make sense. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is move my yarn over here. And I'm set up now. I'm going to take the yarn and wrap it around. This is just my setup. So now you can see you essentially have yarn around all 3 of the pins. Holding this with my left hand, and this is when I'm going to introduce my crochet hook. For this very first loop, and only this loop only this first go around only, I'm going to go under both loops. And I'm going to pull the yarn around, yarn over, and pull it through that first loop. That is just my setup. Okay, from here on, we're going to be working through the loops and not under both. Now, I'm going to just show you really quickly. You could have done this at the beginning. I like to wait until I've worked that first loop, just because it jumps around a bit. You can take your tail, and just feed it through this hole right in the center. And that just gets it out of the way. You want that tail to weave in later for a project so that your project doesn't come unwoven. Okay, so now pay attention, dearies, because this is where it kind of blew my mind when I was working with this. Now you need to get the hook to the other side. So you turn it around so it's pointed down and flip it to the back. Then you can see that this working yarn is on the outside of the pin on the left-hand side. You flip the whole thing over. So all that's done is that's made sure that your hook on the right-hand side, on the right side that's facing you, is in the ready position to start working again. All right, now this is where it gets real. This is when you repeat. This is the technique that you're going to repeat from here on out. So you're going to come up through the loop, grab that yarn, pull it through. Now you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Then you're going to yarn over and pull it through both. For those of you that are crocheters, it is just a single crochet. That's all it is. All right, so you've worked a loop. All right, so now we need to flip our piece over and we need to get our hook to the other side. So I'm going to turn it over, flip, and now I'm set up. All right, I'm going to go through the loop on the top, meaning the last one that was worked, grab, pull, yarn over, pull through both loops. This working yarn is always wrapping around that outside pin. As you get going, you don't have to do such a dramatic, like turn the hook over and dip. You'll kind of get how you rotate it, but just at the beginning, it might be helpful for you to start that way. Is it making sense so far? Just give me some hearts or some thumbs up if this is making sense so far. Okay, so I'm going to just continue in this manner. Drawing the loop through, yarning over, completing that single crochet. Moving the hook to the other side. Okay, good. I'm seeing a lot of love coming through. That means I'm being clear. That means I will not have anxiety later about giving you the wrong information. Okay, we're coming up, picking the yarn, yarning over, pulling through both loops. Just a couple of helpful tips. I am holding this yarn, the working yarn. Working yarn is just the yarn that's attached to the ball. I'm holding it as taut as possible. I like to do the little through the first two finger methods, but if you've got a method that works better for you, you rock on with your bad self. This just makes it easier to grab. When I come up, I'm going to grab the yarn, and this is a Clover Amour hook, and it is made, I don't know if you can see, this is a dark one, I should have used a lighter one. It's got this little area that's perfect for your thumb. Let the hook work for you. Turn it, pull it through so that you've got two loops on the hook, and you've also nabbed that one that's on the pegs. Yarn over and pull through. And you're just going to continue in this manner for as long as the piece needs to be. Now, I will say this, that when you make something, when you read a pattern for something with hairpin lace, it is going to tell you how many loops, which if you're a knitter or a crocheter, you're used to them saying, you're used to a pattern saying X amount of stitches at the end of the row. Well, this will say loops. And what's that referring to? What it's referring to is these little guys right here. So if I count, I see I have 1, 2, 3 over here, and I have 1, 2, 3 over here. That means I'm completely even. That means I have completed one round. So I know. If I hadn't, and I'm just going to show you what that would look like. Let's say I've worked it, turned it, ready to go, and I want to know if I'm done. Well, let's see. I've counted 1, 2, 3, 4 over here, but only 1, 2, 3 over here. I know that I have another one to work. So does that make sense? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to take this off. Well, I'm going to do two things. First of all, I'm going to show you how you fasten off. And all you would do, it's kind of just like crochet, how you fasten off. You would cut your yarn, leaving a tail long enough to weave in. And then you just feed it through and pull. Now, since we're not really making anything right now, I'm just going to pull it off. These loops can stay live at this point because I'm not doing anything with them. And let me show you a piece that I made that was bigger because that was kind of a littler piece. So I want you to see. So this is made with the exact same yarn using the exact same method. But I want you to see something that's really cool. If you don't finish these off, meaning if you don't use these to join and you leave them in their sort of like loopy glory, look at how stretchy this is. So I can definitely see using something like this in a fun way. I'd have to figure it out, what would be the best. I mean, I would say a cuff, but that would be a little wackadoo. But it's something that you could play with. It would be really fun for like a little girl's headband or whatever. But once you finish the sides, and I'll tell you what I mean in a second, that would then make it a little bit more rigid. Okay, so I have now, that's the basic way. Now, if you're feeling like a pro or a step above a non-pro, you might want to ditch the second and just do the traditional method. I'm also going to show you something else. I'm going to take these out and I'm going to talk about these holes a little bit. So if you want to make a piece that's longer than the length of these pins, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to take some of the work off after a while. So what you're going to need to do, and here's a long piece that I worked on. You can see that I've got these strings in them. These strings have held the length of the piece that I was working after I've worked it a bit. And I'll slide this back on to show you what I mean after I'm done showing you the original method. But what I wanted to show you is that there's no need, as I showed you earlier, to keep these stitches. It's not like this guide thread is, keeping the stitches live and it'll unravel. But what it does do is it keeps them oriented all in the same direction for when you are attaching them together. So it's really just for that. And I have a slip knot down here at the very bottom so that the obviously so the loops don't fall right off. Okay. Laura says tie a slip knot in the tail after you thread it through the hole, and that'll keep the work from slipping up to the top and the needles. That's a great tip. Thank you for that, Laura. Okay, so I've gotten some just whatever string. This is just some thinner yarn. You can use whatever you have at home. If you were making a scarf, you'd obviously want to measure out the length of the scarf or whatever the length of the piece is, plus add a little just for good measure. Since I'm not making anything specific, I just randomly cut some pieces. Let me move this back so you can see a little bit better. And you're just going to thread them through the little holes. And if you want, I usually tie just like a loose knot just to keep them in place. And then I don't have to worry about it coming unthreaded. So I actually haven't worked much with hairpin lace. I don't know if any of you saw a show that I used to host for years called Nitty Gritty on DIY Network. One of the episodes was with Jen Hansen from Stitch Diva. Gosh, this is so many years ago, like maybe a decade ago. And she came on and she showed how to make a beanie with a hairpin lace band around it. And that was really my first time using hairpin lace. And to be honest with you, I haven't worked much with it since. So this was so fun to see this tool come across my desk because it kind of gives me another fun playground for yarn, or really anything with string. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about patterns later for things that you can make once you're done with it. Okay, so I've got them set up. I put the pins back in the way that I had before, and now I'm ready to, I think I'm going to use some thicker yarn. And just for fun, let's just do it just a little bit narrower. Now, if you're going narrower, like if you were going to do, let's say you were going to make something really thin with a thinner yarn, the 3 needle option really is not an option, or the 3 pin option. There just would be no room to work. So if you're using the 3 pin one, it really needs to be on one of the wider holes. Okay, so I'm going to bring in some yarn. This yarn is the superwash super bulky yarn from Valley Yarns that I did a color collection for. Again, you're going to do a slip knot, same method. This time though, you're going to only, since we don't have the middle pin, you're just going to slide it over the pin on the left hand side, but this is where that arrow comes into play that I showed you earlier. This is your center point. You want to try to keep the knotted area, which will later be the braid, in the center. This one, I actually have not tested it. The tail may or may not go through this. Oh, it does! Yay! And now I'm going to use Laura's tip and tie a little knot. Actually, no, yeah, I am. Well, I'm going to put it through the hole, but I'm going to tie a very loose knot because later if I take it off, I might want to slide it off. All right, so we are all set up now. So what we want to do is I'm going to grab a bigger hook to correspond with my bigger yarn. I'm going to wrap it around so that I'm started exactly the same way. Exactly the same way we started the first one. So we're set up. Okay, does that make sense? So we've got our knot in the center. We've wrapped the yarn around. We know that we've done right because there is yarn around both pins. Okay, so now, same thing as before, we just don't have that center pin to guide us. We're going to come up for that very first step under both loops, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through. Okay, that's just for that first one to set up. Now we're going to do that little switcheroony thing where we move our hook, we rotate our hook, then we rotate the whole loom, and now we're ready to work our loops as we will for the rest of the project. So insert, grab, whoops, slippery the little sucker, pull that through, yarn over, pull it through, flip it over, grab, pull it through, and I rotate. Connie says she learned to do hairpin lace from her great-grandmother, but she didn't know what to do with it. So this is kind of fun. You know, it's like we try to pretend we're all modern doing these crafts now, but obviously it was our foremothers that, you know, they were doing this kind of thing, you know, for hundreds and hundreds of years before we were around. But what makes it modern is really just keeping the dialogue alive, figuring out crafty tools like this that add, you know, that add a new dimension to it, and really bringing in new fibers and new materials. I've just showed you a couple different weights of materials. It's really fun. I'm going to show you later how I worked with some leather on this. You can use anything that has a string-like shape. Is that right? Anything that could be made into string you could use on this. Okay, so let's just pretend that we've been working on this for evs and it's really long. It's not, but let's just pretend. So let's say this is fully loaded and it's totally topped off, right? Well, but I want to keep going because I'm making a scarf or whatever. I'm going to take this top clip, and if you press it, it's kind of like a chip clip, you know, that you use at home for packaging. And you want to slip it on, press it, slip it on, and then you move your piece up. This is when you would unknot this for this particular tool. And this wouldn't necessarily be the case with a traditional tool. Okay, so I'm unknotting that, and I want to take that out. Okay, then you're going to, again, apply pressure, pinch it, slide this off, and then I just realized that I did not get the thing on properly. Okay, there we go. And then you would just slide it down. You would keep a couple of them on just for good measure. Slide it onto your guided threads and then reattach your piece, and then you would just continue. I'm going to take this off just because it's easier. Then you would just set up again. Now this looks a little unclear because I don't have a lot, so I'm going to put on a bigger piece and see if it makes more sense to you. But now that you're set up, you could just keep going on your merry way until it's fully reloaded again. Okay? Okay, so I'm going to just pull this off. I'm going to pull all of it off, actually. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what's next. Oh, let me also show you this. So this particular piece I did with the 2-bar method or the 2-pin method. This piece I did with a 3. They look almost identical. So there's not a different look. It just, that 3rd bar just really helps stability. Some fun, here's how the wider piece looks if it's bigger. Now this is before you've done anything. So, you know, you may be thinking, what the heck am I going to do with this like loopy Muppet looking thing? Well, some people are super into loopy Muppet things, and it would be an awesome trim. I think it would be really cute on a tree as a garland or as a fringe on something. But really what hairpin lace is about how you connect them. Where is the package? So there are a bunch of different ways that you can connect these strips, and how you connect them is how the different looks are achieved. So you can see here what I did is it's hard to see because of the black yarn, but what I did is I single crocheted 3 loops together on each side, and it gave it almost like a broomstick lace look. But you could zigzag it, you could do a bunch of chains, you could sew them, you can, let me bring up this little diagram because I don't know where my picture went. So this diagram comes with the hairpin lace tool. You can see here what they did is they alternated. So they did a series of crocheted chains, and as they're connecting them, and this is on the outside, so right here, so there wouldn't be any loops. They've single crocheted, or I'm sorry, they've chained, and then they've grabbed 3, and then they've chained, grabbed 3, and then here it looks like they grabbed 6 of them. So then you get this wavy look. So it really, really, it's kind of a playground for you. And if you don't feel like you want to deal with all of the joining together, just play with what you can with these little pieces. So these, I actually was playing around. Some of you might have seen these on Instagram and on Facebook. I actually played around with working with just leather, just plain old leather lacing that you can get at the craft store. And this is just a simple piece that I added a stone to. The loops, I let the loops be all crazy like. I have these, let me show you. I have these little fasteners that were perfect for the lacing, because you could lay the lacing down and then just use a crimping tool to add them, and O's. And so for this, I don't know what it is about fall, but whenever fall comes around, I'm super into bohemian stuff. So that I easily made a bracelet. I mean, honestly, this bracelet took like 15 minutes to make, so it would be really fun for craft fairs or for gifts for the holidays. This exact same thing, but on this one, I finished off the sides. All right. So, and then I've hand sewn. I found also in the jewelry section at the craft store, they just have this nylon thread. I hand sewed some individual turquoise-esque beads. I doubt it's real turquoise for the price I paid, onto it. Again, same latches. Really easy project. Super fun. And these are just, if you were making these, you would just make it to a little bit shorter than what your wrist circumference is. And I would suggest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 loops. I have like child size wrists. It's an oddity. So you may need more or less, depending on your own wrist, but it has a little bit of stretch because this one does, because I didn't finish off the sides. This one has less stretch because I did finish off the sides. How did I finish off the sides, you ask? I just took a crochet hook. Actually, I didn't even use a hook. I used my fingers. But I laddered, let's see, can I get closer so you can see? I laddered them up. Does that make sense? Oh, I'm not happy with how you can see. Okay, so what I did is I just fed the loops through each other all the way up the side. And then I had a tie at the end, and before I added any of this on that one, I looped it in and I tied it and fastened it off. And that creates a nice, it's easier to see in the light, a nice finished edge. It kind of looks like the bottom of like a knitted edge or a crocheted chain. That's really all that there is to it. All right, I think I've covered almost everything. Oh, except for this is kind of fun. This is kind of silly. So it's about to be Halloween. If you cut the loops, I was thinking about making these with the kids. They kind of look like these crazy little millipedes or whatever. I just thought they were super fun. But even if you didn't do this, this is another way to make fringe. I was thinking it would be really cool to do this and then wrap it around a cone, like a styrofoam cone, and create some kind of like Christmas tree or something. Be super fun. I don't know. I just think it's kind of cool and squiggly and whatever. All right, so covered a lot. That was a lot. I hope all of it made sense to you, and I hope that you're excited about the tool because it's super fun. Some of you asked about projects. Where do you find projects? Well, I always suggest going through, if you have, I collect vintage craft magazines, there's loads of stuff there, so search through those. But honestly, if you go onto Pinterest and you just put in hairpin lace, you'll see some really cool tops and shawls and all kinds of like really cool stuff. I've pretty much told you how to make these, so you can do that right now, and I can actually put some notes in the comment section of this video. If you're watching on YouTube later, you can always come over to Facebook and see all of people's comments so that you can learn and get the great tips like I got from one of our viewers just a second ago. Also, next week, so this is Friday right now, next Friday on the Clover blog, just Clover USA blog, and also my own website, I will have a scarf project. So you can go out this weekend or this next week, you can go to your local craft store or order it online, go get your hairpin lace tool, and then next week I'll have a scarf project up to back you up, to give you something else to make if you after you've made 57 bracelets for all your loved ones. So you can look forward to that too. In the meantime, what I would like to do is I would love to give away 3 of these hairpin lace tools. Thanks to our friends at Clover, I am able to give away 3. So what I would like to do is I want to give away 1 live here on Facebook, and then the other 2 will be, I'll give away through the comments section, so that people who are on YouTube can come over to the Facebook page, can have a chance to see it, and also the rest of you, if you're watching this after the live preview because you, I don't know, have other lives that don't involve watching me do stuff, or you're working or whatever, I want to give you an opportunity to work too. So I would like to give away, I'm going to just randomly scroll and point at a name. Never done this live before, so let's see. And I'm going to pick Lori Schaefer. Lori Schaefer, you have won a hairpin lace tool. If you could please email submissions, that's submissions, SUBMISSIONS, at VickieHowell.com. With your mailing info, I will get it to the Clover people. So that's submissions at VickieHowell.com. If for some reason you don't get that, just reach out to me on the interwebs and we'll find it. Okay, so everybody else. So thanks to Lori Schaefer. Congratulations. I'm going to write that name down because I will forget. For the rest of you, I still have 2 more to give away. So if you, in the comment section, would post what you think that you would make with a tool like this, what you think you would make, what materials you want to try, a tip, anything like that, anything that'll help our communities to be inspired for this tool, then you will automatically be entered to win one of these from, one of 2 of these from the Clover people. And we will have this contest running through next Friday, which I believe is the 28th. So October 28th, you have until October 28th at 10 p.m. Pacific time, which is midnight my time, to enter to win. So if you think anybody else would be interested in this tool, please share the video, tell your friends. You know, we're all a community here, so word of mouth is really helpful. So thank you to everyone who joined in. It's been so great doing this live. That's so fun. I haven't done just a full-on like tool focused live thing before. It looks like you've already started entering, so that makes me super happy. And you know, make sure, as always, when you get one and you start making things, to please tag at Vickie Howell. I love seeing people being crafty. I just love it, and I love to know when they're inspired by projects that I'm a part of. So thank you for your time. Have a great weekend. If you're watching this live on Friday, if you're watching it whenever, hey, just have a great day. All right, thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.